Hey there, just a quick heads up. This is a video first episode, so you might be missing important context if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. The link to the YouTube video is in the description. It's the first thing you see. I recommend watching it there so you can kind of get the full context for this episode. A few disclaimers here at the top. First, I am a white man. Second, I was raised in America's Deep South, and A plus B equals I have certain implicit biases and blindnesses about race. I've run this script past a bunch of people trying to avoid all that, but that said, some stuff might have slipped through. So if you catch something, my door's open. My first sig fig had a yellow head. A sig fig stands for signature minifigure, basically a little Lego you. I was 17, my sig fig had a beard, a robot arm, and of course a bright yellow face. Even my current sig fig, no robot arm this time, has a yellow face. So does my girlfriend's. She's also white. At any point, I had the option to give these figs light nougat faces, the Lego color kind of closest to my own skin tone, but to me the only difference between light nougat and yellow is aesthetic. A lot of black Lego fans don't have that option.
The pickings are slim. Some people use yellow skinned minifigs and stuff, but I want mine to be representative of who I am.
Did you ever consider making a sig fig of yourself with a yellow?
No.
Yeah. Why not?
Because yellow doesn't represent me, to be brutally honest. It didn't even cross my mind.
A yellow minifigure is a white minifigure.
If I made like a sig fig in yellow, it'd be like, yes, this is sure. But being able to make it look more like me, it's like, yeah, that's me.
That's Levi Knighton. They, like a lot of black Lego fans, wanted to make a sig fig with an accurate skin tone. Unfortunately, that is easier said than done. For Bricklink data, taking out wacky colors, there are about 3,100 unique minifig heads. 83% of those are either yellow or light nougat, aka white. That means everyone who isn't white gets a pool of about 500 heads, ranging from dark brown to nougat. For Levi's skin tone, medium nougat, they had about 8 good options.
There are plenty of people that like having the yellow, but there are also people who are like, you know what? I like my skin. I like being able to see myself.
The original Lego minifigure had yellow skin. Why? Well, Lego's brand relations manager once said it's because yellow is neutral. Quote, Lego people can be any people, at any place, in any story. Which, coming from a small Danish company in 1978, checks out, right? 1978, Denmark was extremely homogenous. But for the largest toy company in the world in 2026, well, that doesn't make as much sense.
The way people kind of tend to see the default is as white. You can say, like, yes, this is supposed to represent everyone, but really the way most people are seeing it is this represents one type of person.
Now, thanks to both Lego and The Simpsons, the right idea is that yellow cartoons, toys, that sort of thing, are white, are Caucasian.
That's Roy T. Cook. He's a philosopher, a Lego fan, and he's put a lot of thought into Lego and race.
And I've done some experiments along these lines at Lego conventions, just very informal, just asking people what they thought about the race of certain minifigs. And I've tried this out with like different figures and different outfits and different skin tones. And you ask people what race the figure is. If you put them in a ninja costume, they will say Asian. And this is something that happens with regard to race in general. Context matters. The rules are complicated. And so yellow minifigs will default to Caucasian.
A lot of people echo that. Comedian Wyatt Cenac.
The Lego castle set is styled after a medieval castle. They may be yellow figures, but medieval castle suggests a world that was very European and very white.
YouTuber Lily Alexander.
When you picture someone who doesn't have a race or gender, your mind probably goes to the people who aren't marked by racism or sexism because their traits are treated as default.
Or even Harvey Ball, the white man who drew that iconic yellow smiley face design.
I don't think it took my dad very long at all. He just sketched it out, made it yellow, because that felt completely natural to him.
So today, let's dive into the, as Roy says, complicated relationship between the Lego minifig and race. What Lego intended, what people took away from it, and the real effects it has on Lego fan culture. To quote Yellow Simpson's character, and therefore probably white man Ned Flanders, you can't live in good intentions. My name's Eric Crittenden, and this is Clutch Power, a show about the ways we love Lego. Episode 18, what race is a Lego minifig? In part 1, a look at Lego minifigs before the shift to flesh tones and the trouble of a race-neutral minifig. In part 2, Lego after the shift. The one minifig who put them in a really uncomfortable position and everything they've done since to make up for it. Then in a bonus segment for Clutch Power supporters, a case study of the yellow minifig problem when a yellow sig fig put an Asian man in a weird situation. And finally, part 3, life as a black Lego fan, and the few groups trying really hard to make minorities feel more comfortable in this space. This is a big episode with a ton of guests, so thank you to everyone who took some time to talk with me. Let's dive in. Part 1, black and yellow.
This is the Lego minifigure. Yeah, I did that on purpose.
In 2023, Lego Masters contestant Mel Brown asked a group of black kids a question.
I need to know something, All right. So, is this Lego? You see this Lego minifigure, right?
Yeah.
Is this Lego minifigure person? Is this Lego minifigure person white or black?
White.
This is a take on the classic doll study from the 1940s. It goes like this.
Show me the smart child.
Show me the mean child.
Can you show me the dumb child?
Show me the nice child. Why is she the bad child?
Because she's black.
And why is he the ugly child?
Because he looks like he's white.
And so on. Their conclusion, by age 5, a black kid knew that to be, quote, colored in American society is a mark of inferior status. Race, at least in America, is put on kids of color at a really young age.
I picked up one of their toys, and the kid, who at the time had to be about 5 years old, told me, no, you can't touch that. You can't touch that toy because your darkness will rub off on the toy.
The young white girl started crying, and I asked her what was wrong. And she said, they told me later that everybody in the room spat in your Coke while you were outside.
Some people are taught it. Some people are introduced to it in ways in which they wish they weren't. You might get a comment and you're like, oh, I didn't think I was different until somebody says something.
And it doesn't stop at childhood.
I can honestly say at least 2-3 times a week, I can experience some kind of racial nonsense.
I can look at a white woman and a black woman and say, yes, those are different races, but what does that even mean? Turns out biologists, sociologists, philosophers have been asking that for a really long time.
There have been 3 main kinds of, broadly speaking, kinds of conception of what race is. The first is just biological, right? And that is the one that probably had the most sway until maybe starting in the 1950s. And that's the idea that race is somehow just a genetic fact, right? It's a fact about your biology. Most people who work on race have concluded since the 1950s, since real research started on this, that there is no underlying physical or genetic factor that can explain the divisions we make of people into races. The other is that race is clearly a contingent thing, right? The ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks had no notion of race, nothing corresponding to our modern notion of race. This does not mean they were good people. It does not mean that they didn't discriminate. They just did it based on other criteria. They did it, for example, if you were a barbarian, right, which basically meant you spoke another language. After that, the next one that became very popular is the eliminativist conception of race. And this is just that there are no such thing as races, right? Some people have darker or lighter skin, but there are no objective facts about race, right? Race just isn't a real thing.
That was Lego in the 70s and 80s. The yellow minifig has no race because in the Lego world, there is no such thing as race. But there is a problem with this theory.
For black people in America, the fact that they are black is important to them, right? They have certain experiences because they are black people. Right? Experiences that are different from how white people navigate and experience the world. And it's hard to explain that or make sense of that if there's no such thing as being black, right?
So if you're a black kid growing up surrounded by yellow minifigs.
Growing up, I always saw the yellow minifig as just a Lego yellow fig. And that was always what I always thought.
When I see a yellow minifig, I think that is an everyman or every woman color, every person.
Did you see that as a kid?
I think so. I think, that social construct is taught to us. It is the reality that we face. People ascribe to it really quickly.
So I like to think about these things as the stories we're telling. And so Lego at least intended to tell a story in their city sets and the other kinds of sets with yellow minifigs that was set in a fictional world, right? The world of the story was one where there was no such thing as race, right? They intended this to be racially neutral, where everyone, in particular every child, could see themselves in the minifigs, could identify with the minifigs, partially because in a certain sense no one could.
Can there be a color that is representative of all races?
I mean, it's hard because all of the sort of standard colors that are anywhere near in any stretch of the imagination, actual skin tones, tend to be even like yellow, which doesn't look anything like skin, but it's kind of what they picked as this generic thing. Either are, like actual flesh tones aren't going to work because they're going to pick out particular colors of flesh, and all the other colors, red, nope, that's not going to work because it's going to indicate Native Americans, but via stereotypes, just as the yellow in certain contexts indicates Asians via stereotypes. I suspect not.
For a decade, all Lego minifigs had that same yellow face with that basic classic smile, and at least they were consistent, right? The face is neutral, short hair, long hair, t-shirt, policeman, it's the same face every time. But then...
The pirates are coming! Aha! Where there's a fort, there's a treasure! Take in the sails! Forward, men! Attack!
Lego pirates. All of a sudden you had minifigs with beards, eye patches, evil smiles. And in the 90s, as Lego put out more and more themes, cracks started to show.
So they started to stereotype certain Pacific tribes, right? They wanted ninjas and samurais as a break off of their castle sets to do sort of like an Eastern theme, Far East themed version of castle. And so you started to get these stereotyped ninja and samurai figs. And also the cowboys, the Western sets, right? They had the cowboys and they had soldiers at the fort, but they also wanted Native American figures. Another place where that turns up relatively late in the game is in the first round of NBA figures, which were still in yellow plastic, where the features that are printed on these minifig heads are very racially specific. You're not going to mistake those for a white person, at least if you pick up on the kind of coding that's being used. They intended it that way, but they also subverted their own intentions because eventually they started making minifigs with certain printings that were clearly explicitly meant to indicate particular races other than white. And I think this is a double-edged sword, right? Because often when they don't make the facial features neutral, when they try to indicate a specific race or ethnic group, it often doesn't go very well, right? Often in retrospect, those minifigs are a little cringy. But on the other hand, if they avoid that, then that's just further emphasizing the whiteness of the minifigs. Ethnic printings are at least a way to broaden the rate, they're an attempt to broaden the sort of races that are represented in that particular minifig world. And I think they were well intentioned in that regard, right? They were intended to broaden the kinds of people that were being depicted in this world. And even if they never said this explicitly, undercut the initial claim that the Lego yellow minifig world was in fact without race.
Which all leads to the early 2000s. By then, Lego had licenses that included people of color, the NBA, Harry Potter, Star Wars. It was decision time. Do they commit to this yellow is for everyone theory, or do they start making minifigures with realistic skin tones? Well,
slings it back, it's deflected and picked. Taylor Demerson, and then the football came out. Who recovers?
More on that just ahead. Part 2, the problem with Lando. The original Star Wars is a very white movie. Everyone on screen is white, and it's the same thing behind the camera. George Lucas, a white guy from California, directed it. The crew, as far as I can tell, was all white. The only black person in the whole production was James Earl Jones, who voiced Darth Vader, this big, imposing black figure. And the optics of that are not great. So for the next Star Wars movie, Lucas wrote up Lando Calrissian, who he saw as this suave, dashing black man. And in 1980, there was really only one choice for a suave, dashing black man.
George told me that the reason why they had me come in was because into this whole situation was because he was getting a lot of flack about Darth Vader being this big black figure, you know. And so he had to kind of clarify that whole situation.
Lando is a black man. Lucas wrote him as black. And in a few decades, that would put Lego at a really big crossroads.
The fact that Lando is played by Billy D. Williams, who had a certain kind of reputation as this suave ladies' man from the blaxploitation films he'd been in and the Colt 45 commercials, the fact that he was this suave, dashing black man is relevant to how you understand the character, right? You can't make a minifig of Lando and make him white.
So what did Lego do? Well, for the first wave of Lego Star Wars, no Lando. Wave 2, no Lando. Wave 3, no Lando.
And it got to a point where they'd done enough sets that it was really, really sort of noticeable that they didn't have a set with Lando. That there was this opportunity to make a minifig of color, and Lego had just not done it.
So in 2003, Lego launched set 10123, Cloud City, with 3 yellow minifigures and 1 brown one.
Lando is not yellow compared to everybody else.
They drew their line in the sand.
Had to.
Yeah.
Had to.
This is Randall Wilson. You've heard from him a few times in the episode. He's a Lego Masters contestant, a brick artist, and he's old enough to remember when Lego Lando came out. How do you think the Lego community would have responded had they made Lando yellow?
I probably had some heads turning. I would gather that if anything, they probably could have done it, but it probably would have been like a rare minifig that you would get 20 years later. Like, oh, remember when they came in with the yellow Lando? Then there was an outcry. They were like, yo, one of these things is not like the other. And then they would have had to come out with a reissue.
In a way, Lego kind of did come up with a reissue, but company-wide.
This, of course, famously is why they moved to having 2 different kinds of minifig. The traditional yellow ones, which are still officially, without, according to Lego, I believe, without race. And then the racially specific minifigs that come in the various more realistic shades of peach and browns.
But even still, it took a while before we got colors beyond white person and brown person. Dark orange in 2008, medium nougat in 2011, dark brown in 2013. But now in 2026, oh my God, Lego has a ton of skin options. Medium tan, medium brown, nougat, sienna.
I think Lego is really trying. And I think more and more builders are shifting over to the flesh tones. Partially because we can, especially if we're like recreating something from life, we can better recreate it. I think Lego knows people are making this shift. They know people, especially people of color, want figures that look like them. I also think it's increasingly the case that the IPs that they're adapting, right? Star Wars, Marvel, things like this, have an increasing number of actors of color that they need to represent. And I think that's a good thing. So my suspicion is, as time goes on, we'll see, especially as they pick up more and more of these lucrative licenses, we're going to see more and more of the realistic flesh tones and less of the yellow minifigs.
And if you want to see this all in one theme, look at Lego Friends. You have characters from all over the skin color spectrum, and with ADHD, anxiety, limb differences, Friends is very diverse, but that does make other themes look bad.
When it comes to Lego City and all that, there's just no diversity there.
This is Christine, aka Tacos, a Lego Masters contestant.
As we continue to thrive as a community or as people, we're going to be even more blended. It's hard. So they are picking and choosing. I just wish that they did offer more flesh tones.
There are a few standout sets for diversity. Pretty much everyone I talked to mentioned one of these 2 sets. There's 21337 Table Football and 10391 Over the Moon with Pharrell Williams. Both sets included a diverse assortment of minifig heads, basically a parts pack for non-white figures.
So many adult builders bought that solely for the heads because of this huge range of heads in realistic flesh tones.
If you wanted it just as like, here's a bunch of like minifig heads in a bunch of colors, it was honestly a pretty good way to do that.
Yeah.
Pharrell put those faces in there for a reason, because those are people that he probably came across in his lived experience growing up in Virginia and in the projects and all that.
Of course, there is a downside to these sets.
Why is it that for a Lego City set, I'm paying this amount, and then all of a sudden there's an IP, and I'm slapping this sticker number on it, and it's just, I want that set just for that minifigure. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate that we have to do that. Lego is making us choose.
Yeah, neither set is cheap or easy to find, but still steps in the right direction. That's not to say Lego hasn't had a few missteps since Lando. We've seen a few more generic yellow-skinned Native Americans. Most non-white minifig heads are still either frowning or angry, and Roy brought this one up. There was Space Police 3 in 2010.
These sets were usually, they came in pairs. It would be 2 vehicles of various sizes in the various size sets. And one would be the Space Police, which were little, Lego yellow skin minifigs. And then the other vehicle would be the space criminals that the Lego police were chasing. And if I'm remembering correctly, in every single set, in every case, in every instance, the Space Police were in fact yellow skinned minifigures. So they were human. And the criminals were various specially made bug-eyed alien minifigures, right? So even though it was in the Lego minifig universe, where the minifigs are supposed to be racially neutral, they're supposed to be able to represent anyone, there was still in that universe this deep othering, because it was made clear, if you paid attention, that the good guys were humans and the people different from us were the criminals.
And even to take that a step further, and I'm pulling this up here just to check my math, the alien criminals were somewhat black coded.
Yes, in particular, I remember very distinctly the one in the to put it bluntly, in the purple pimp outfit with the pimp hat. Yes,
it was called Brick Daddy.
Brick Daddy, yes, and very much stereotyped after sort of 1970s blaxploitation movies and the fashions in those.
Yeah. So what did that say?
Well, one is they're black coded to begin with, right? As you pointed out. Right. Even if the outfits and some of those things weren't pretty, clearly coded black, it still emphasizes a narrative where there are the people like us that are the good people, and people that aren't like us are bad. Right. And this is a kind of narrative that gets caught up in race, right? It gets caught up in racism, right? White people are good. People of color are not. They are the criminals. They are the immigrants. They are the people we don't want around, right? And of course, that said isn't saying it about people of color, but it's still supporting a narrative about people different from us being somehow either worse than us or less than us. Right? And that's a very dangerous narrative, even if it's just about bug-eyed aliens.
A few years ago, George Lucas talked about diversity in the original Star Wars. Compare it to what Roy just said.
The main part of that movie was to make people realize that everybody is equal, no matter where they're from, no matter what they look like. They would say, well, it's all white men. I said, it's not. Most of the people are aliens.
Up next, for members only, it is a case study of the yellow minifig problem and the people of color who say, in fact, a yellow minifig does represent them. For everyone else, it is on to part 3, a look at the Lego community and how black folks are showing out in a very, very white space. Part 3, a black dot in a white ocean. It's me. We're doing a Lego. On a warm February morning, I stood outside a new bricks and minifig store. It's like a Goodwill for Legos. I was talking to the crowd, and oh baby, I talked.
The old Clone Wars ones.
But not with the freaky faces, or no?
I'll take freaky faces.
That's a Blacktron hat. I thought that was a Triforce.
Blacktron. You gotta stick with the Lego, man.
You just bought an insane amount of Legos. What did you buy? What did you do? And now, looking back at the footage, out of everyone I talked to, I saw only one black man. Are you burning up? Must be nice. One man. This is Frank. Now look, being black in white spaces is nothing new. Billy D. Williams was talking about it way back in 1980.
I mean, you have to find ways to make people comfortable. You have to find ways to
to relax people. You have to say to people, look, it's okay. There's no threat. You have to raise the consciousness of people. That's a very difficult thing to do.
If you go to any Lego convention, you're going to see a lot of people who look like me and very few people who look like Frank.
There are still almost no people of color there. And there, I think it's just the simplest way to put that is look, you're not going to, as a new person going to your first event where it's 2,000 people at the event, right? And if you go and you look around and you see literally nobody who looks like you, right? You're not going to feel as comfortable.
It can be isolating, not through anybody's fault. Be clear. I think I think about a similar conversation that we often have about Black people going to HBCUs, like historically Black colleges and universities, versus PWIs.
There are snide comments. There are looks. You could see the looks, but we don't know exactly what the looks mean.
It was very much like kind of an old boys club with all the kind of drama that comes with it.
So as a person of color, you really have to step up and dive into the Lego community. And that comes naturally to some people like Corey.
I have one of those, I call it a chameleon, a chameleon personality. Like I can literally blend in anywhere almost, and I can resonate with almost everybody.
But not everyone.
I would go to shows too and like have my stuff out on display. We had a city display and I made a warehouse for it, and like nobody ever like asked me about it or anything. I remember literally one time, somebody came up to me after a meeting and was like, you've been showing off these micro buildings for a while, because that's kind of my thing. I have a micro city going. And he was like, it's so cool. How do you come up with the designs? How do you like kind of go through them? And I was able to like talk about my process like one time, and I had been going for over a year at that point.
And honestly, there aren't a lot of groups that specifically focus on Lego fans of color. Doing research on this episode, I found two. There's Dream Builders and a group called Black Lug.
Black Lug started as a joke to start with.
This is Wes Royer. He's the founder of Black Lug. A lug is like a Lego fan group.
I was one of 3 Black people there. So, by that point of me going, I'd been in the community a little while, kind of was finding my feet, and I was basically like, you know what? I'm just going to start a lug. I'm going to call it Black Lug, and we're going to take over. We're going to take over everything. We're going to darken everything up. But it was all fun and jokes. Like it was like, a little joke running in the lug that I was in at the time. It was like, I'm going to make tees, hoodies, merch, you name it. I'm going to do it all. And then I started doing it. So I would pop up at shows, and then you would slowly get people asking, what's this Black Lug thing? And, at first I was just like, yeah, it's just a bit of fun. Like, it's just me, doing whatever. But then as it's kind of gone on and I've started to kind of take it more seriously, it's kind of like, oh, wow, it's doing a lot more than what I ever dreamed it would be doing. You had a lot of ambassadors from lugs worldwide asking me what can they do to kind of reach out to the Black community and get more Black people involved into the Lego community and joining their lugs, talking to people's upbringing, where they're from. A lot of people think that it is bad for them to say Black when referring to a person. So they was very much like, oh, I didn't know I could say it. And then it was like, can I be a part of it? And it's like, of course you can. This isn't just for Black people. This is just highlighting just one demographic in the community, but it's for everybody. So I came up with the tagline, inclusively exclusive. Just big oxymoron and that, but it's for everybody.
So yeah. What is kind of the mission statement of Black Lug?
The mission is just to really plain and simple, we like Lego too. Yeah, we like Lego too. We like to displays, it's shown with people that attend shows and families that attend shows. A Black lady actually started crying when she saw me behind the table. And she was just like, I've been to countless shows. I never thought I would see this, and was just so happy about it. Like, I've never had a reaction like about that before. And it kind of made everything worthwhile. She didn't care what I built. It didn't matter. She didn't care less. She was just a simple fact of to see you here, to see you at such a big show, and just to see what you're doing and what you're trying to promote is just amazing. So that just makes it all worthwhile.
So many Lego fans of color have a moment just like that.
Two sons came up to us and they were just looking at us in awe. We was like, hey, we came to shake their hand and they're trembling.
When it comes to that when I'm speaking in my language, right away their eyes just like, oh, you know what I mean? Even though they're, if their English, I'm sorry, not their English, even if their Spanish is broken, it is something that still, there's a familiarity there. And that familiarity allows you to break down your wall and you're more absorbent of everything.
And I remember we both came down to their level and we just gave them a hug. And we were like, hey, we're brothers just like you guys. And guess what? We used to play with Lego just like you guys. And now look at where we are. This is where you can be too. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to build and to show people what you build. And, the older brother was just like, oh, I love to build, da 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 da. And the younger brother was kind of drawn back. So my brother went to him and he was like, hey, I'm the younger brother too. So I understand what you're feeling right now, but I don't want you to feel that way. Like we're your brothers as well.
I've been playing with Lego since I was 3 years old. The Lego Masters introduced me to the Lego community at large, which is all I ever really wanted. And then from there, you start to find pockets of people that you kick it with. And to be clear, I kick it with everybody, but it is nice to have, a pocket of your folks to rap with.
Representation really matters. It really matters in this particular type of community. Lego stands for play well. So it's always the message that everyone and anyone can build with Lego. You do not have to be part of a certain race, a certain class, a certain gender to build with Lego. You can be like Tacos. Tacos is a female STEM educator with an engineer's degree. She is totally not what you expect from a Latina to be a part of that community, but she is, I'm a fine arts major, and people ask me, do you play sports? You play basketball? Do you play football? I'm like, no, I build with Lego, it's like, wow.
So back to the original question. What race is a yellow minifigure? I've thought about this a lot. Lego says it represents everyone. People of color say it doesn't. There's no concrete answer. But when a black kid walks down a toy aisle and they see a set with minifigs that look like them and a set with minifigs that don't, which one do you think they'll gravitate towards? So what race is a Lego minifigure? My answer, it's not mine.